Today we're going to talk about visual novels and why they're a great alternative or complement to reading books in Japanese. I'm also going to show you how to use a program called Textractor to combine visual novels with the browser extension Yomichan to quickly and easily look up any new Japanese while you play. You can then use Yomichan to create flashcards for those words in Anki with the click of a button. If you don't have Yomichan set up yet, I'll put a link in the description so you can watch a video after this one which will show you exactly how to set it up. So what is a visual novel? Well, a visual novel is a type of video game that is very story heavy. Though there are often choices the player can make, like a choose-your-own-adventure novel, it's mostly just a book, except that it's a book that shows the people and situations involved on screen as you read, thus visual novel. Many visual novels are even fully voiced, so you can listen and read at the same time.
でも、なんだ?
誰がどっちの扉に入るんですか?
While some games do have other gameplay elements like battle and puzzle systems, even these generally have hundreds of pages of text in terms of actual book pages. They're often longer than even normal novels, with branching stories that give lots of replay or reread value. Most full-length visual novels take between 30 to 50 hours to complete. In your native language, used as a study tool, you can expect to get a ton of content from just one full-length VN. Most also have a feature where you can go back and read previous parts and listen to previous dialogue as shown here at any time. Apparently, the first visual novel was called Portopia Serial Murder Case. It was released in 1983 and sold over 700,000 copies according to Wikipedia. They've been around for a while, so there's a ton of them out there. Visual novels are great for people who have a hard time getting into books in Japanese or just books in general. It can be really hard to start reading books in a second language because you have to look up so many words and half the time you don't really know what's going on, so it's boring. Visual novels take a lot of that frustration away because you can see a lot of what's going on screen. Depending on the game, you can also hear what's going on. For Japanese, being able to listen takes some of the frustration out of not being able to read lots of kanji, for example. Despite this simplicity, there's still going to be a ton of vocabulary you have to look up. But that's where the program Textractor comes in. Textractor connects to visual novels and pulls all of the text that shows up on screen into the program. You can then work with the text in various ways from there. I'll show you a quick and easy way to look up Japanese you don't know and create flashcards for it later in this video, so stick around for that. Before we get started with Textractor, let's talk about a few places that you can get visual novels first. I get all of my VNs on Steam. There's a large library of different games available there now, and there's often sales going on. They can be expensive, so waiting for one of these sales to pick up a few is a great idea. Some games that aren't too difficult in terms of language are Ace Attorney, Zero Escape, all of those games, and Island, though I haven't played much of this one yet. A member of my Discord recommended it as a good starter, so I figured I'd recommend it to you as well. I've personally enjoyed Utawarerumono, but it doesn't have the easiest language. It's not terribly difficult though, so it's worth a shot if you're into fantasy settings. The most important thing when you're choosing a VN is to make sure that it's available with Japanese interface, and if it has audio, Japanese audio and subtitles. Otherwise, you'll end up with a game you can only play in English, which kind of defeats the purpose. To get your game to show up in Japanese, you'll have to change the settings either within the game for games that have that option or from within Steam by right-clicking the game in your library, going to Properties, Language, and choosing Japanese from the dropdown. This may require a new download as the Japanese version is sometimes an entirely separate version of the game, or the game may require separate files for the Japanese version. There's also vndb.org, which is like a wiki of visual novels and links out to many other websites where you can get games. A lot of them are free, but with that said, don't expect high quality from the free content. That's not true of everything, of course, but as with lots of free fiction out there, you get what you pay for. Please also keep in mind that a lot of visual novels contain or are based completely around erotic themes. I prefer to play games that are not thinly veiled pornography or just pornography, but if you're into that, more power to you. Here's my list of games on Steam, all of which contain very little or no erotic content at all. I'll list a few other sites that you can pick up visual novels from, but use these at your own risk. After you pick up your first game, you're going to want to download Textractor. You can pick that up from the link in the description or by searching Textractor on Google and going here. If you have a 64-bit version of Windows, you'll want to try using this version of the program first, but please keep in mind that it is not always able to connect to all games, perhaps even most. For example, I was unable to connect the 64-bit version to any games I own, and I'm given this message. I tried the 86-bit version and they all run fine. Start with the 64-bit version and then move to the 86-bit version if you have issues. You're gonna notice all these pop-ups when you first start Textractor. I don't like having all this extra stuff on screen, and we'll be using something else to get our definitions. We also don't want full translations of the Japanese on screen because then we won't have to do any work. In other words, we won't learn much. Go to extensions and remove everything except for the copy to clipboard extension by right-clicking and choosing remove extension. You can add any of the extensions you may actually want later if you decide you want to try something different. Now let's try connecting Textractor to a game. I'll try connecting to Island and see what happens. The first thing we need to do is actually connect Textractor to the game. Choose Attach to Game, find it on the dropdown, and connect it. Next, we have to hook it to the text generator in the game. The easiest way to connect a game to Textractor is to use the Search for Hooks button, choosing Search for Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and clicking Start Hook Search. A single click, and we're connected. From here, scroll through the choices in the dropdown until you find your text. After finding it, move forward one screen in the VN. If the new text doesn't show up on the screen, move to another choice in the dropdown. When you find one with the second line of text as well as the first, move to the next screen. If this also shows up in Textractor, you should be good to go. The next step is very important as it allows you to skip this step next time you start the game. Click Save Hooks. Now every time you start up the game with Textractor open, it automatically connects. I'll be honest, this game is kinda weird in the beginning. I'm not sure how I feel about it just yet, but Grug on the Discord recommended it, so I'll probably continue it to see what the fuss is all about. Now sadly, this easy method doesn't always work. If a hook isn't found, the next thing to try is entering the text you see on screen if you can read it. Click Search for Specific Text. If you can't read the text, you can use the small program called Capture to Text like this. Don't forget to click Save the Hooks. The hook I found for Kyunin Kyujikan Kyutobida had extra content. It looks like it had written out explanations of all the content happening on screen, so you could actually read the whole thing as a novel if you wanted to. One issue that I wasn't able to solve for Kyunin Kyujikan Kyutobida specifically is that I couldn't get a hook for the content that appeared on screen during the escape room portion. You could use something like Capture to Text to solve this problem. You just highlight what's on screen using Windows key plus Q, and though it's not perfect, it picks up a lot of stuff if the background is dark. You can copy that into the edit screen, which we'll go over in a little bit, to figure out what's going on, and you should be fine. I haven't had this issue on any other games yet, so don't worry too much. Hey guys, Future Andy here. I'm sitting here editing this video, and I had to film a bunch of different visual novels, more than just the ones I've already played. The ones I've already played, this whole method, the reason I decided to make this video, has worked so far, but I tried a bunch of new visual novels that I'd never played before to make this video, because I wanted to get a lot of extra footage to keep you excited and, interested on the screen. And I could not get Textractor to work with a very, very large portion of these games. In fact, it didn't work with so many that I considered scrapping this video entirely because I didn't really feel comfortable releasing a tutorial that didn't work for lots of different games. I can't promise that Textractor is going to work for the games that you want to play. But what I will do is put down in the description a list of games that I was able to get work with Textractor and ones that I was not able to get work. Maybe some people down in the comments can actually figure out how to get it to work with the visual novels I couldn't get working, or they'll be able to answer a question for you, like if you have a game you want to play, you can ask down there, and maybe they'll let you know if it worked for them, if I haven't played it yet. I was gonna scrap this one, but I asked in Discord if people wanted the video anyway, and they said yes, as long as it had a disclaimer like this. So here's the disclaimer. This does not work for everything, but it works for a lot of games, and it's been really useful for me so far, so hopefully you find it useful anyway. Alright, on with the video. So having Textractor pull out all this text is great, but what do we do with it from there? Well, that's where the extension we didn't delete comes in. Copy to Clipboard automatically copies new text from the game to your clipboard. We're gonna paste sentences with words we don't know into a spreadsheet in Google Sheets. Just switch to the spreadsheet on a separate screen if you have one, or have it open in the background, hit Control Tab to switch over, make sure your game is running in either windowed or borderless windowed mode to make it faster, Hit Ctrl V, and the text currently on screen in the VN is now in Google Sheets. If you have Yomichan installed, you can now look up that word with a single click and add it and the new sentence directly into Anki with the click of a button. If you don't have Yomichan set up yet, check out the link down in the description or click on the video right up here, and that'll get you set up really quickly. Now, I prefer to add words to Anki immediately, so I have Anki open so that I can add cards as I go. Alternatively, you can leave the new sentences in the spreadsheet and add them to Anki later, but I find this to be a bit more tedious. You'll definitely want the edit field during review close add-on I mentioned in the Yomichan video, because sometimes importing sentences from Sheets will leave you with cards like this. With that add-on, edit field during review close, we can easily edit out the unnecessary text while reviewing. At this point, I set up Anki to show me between 10 and 20 new cards per day, and just do my reviews every day and read VNs whenever I can. It's still April, but I'm already close to 1,000 new words for this year, and I had a blast doing it. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please hit the like button, share it with someone you know who's studying Japanese, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget the bell so you know when more videos like this one go live. Finally, please check out my Patreon and YouTube channel for tons of Japanese learning content. Happy reading!
ありがとうございます。
お疲れ様でした。
また次のビデオで会いましょうね。